Welcome back to Brian's Action Figure Reviews, and you're back for the 10th episode of Retro Wrestling Chat with myself, Rich NG, and Tubbs. And today we've got an interesting match. It's for the WCW title. It's from Starrcade 1997. It's the mysterious Crow Sting taking on Hulk Hogan. Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Enjoy, everybody. This is a fun one. Welcome back to Brian's Action Figure Reviews, and we're back with our 10th episode of Wrestling Retro Chat and Reviews. And I'm here with Rich NG and just about arriving at the last minute, Twisted Tubbs, who had a very exciting day today. But let's not talk about that. So, this week's pick was made by Rich. Tell us, Rich, what you picked and why.
So I've picked Sting versus Hogan. Starrcade 97 is for the main belt. For why, we're going to get into that during the discussion. But the reason I picked this match was Sting is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, and I just want to watch a Sting match, so I may as well do it for the channel.
Awesome. So before we get onto the match, I'll just go over one of the comments we got from last week, and that's from Let's Survive Paddy Plays. He said about the Chris Benoit episode, great episode as per always. Totally agree with your analysis about Chris Benoit. Unforgivable, and wrestling promoters should be held accountable for the damage done to wrestlers' mental well-being on their watch. He's going to suggest a match for this week, and you'll probably hate it. But now, before I go any further, I think it was my turn this week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to suggest this match anyway, so this is really weird. He suggests Stone Cold versus Triple H, No Way Out, 3 Stages of Hell. I think it was at either No Mercy or the Royal Rumble, I think. But
Paddy, man.
Just Austin is one of my favourites, and I don't think you've done an Austin match yet. Much love, guys. Now, I did say he missed the first episode, so that's why he said that. So,
he should go back and watch the first one.
Yeah, he should. So, Paddy, go back and watch episode 1. And Paddy, we'll do Austin versus
Triple H. Go back and watch
the
Virgin episode. Fucking watch it.
With no virgins. So, let's get on to the match, lads. Tell us about the opening, the background about this match, briefly. Either one of you can go.
You go top, pick up.
Do which?
You need to pick me up, and you love a story, so you can go for it.
Yeah, I do love a story. All right. So this whole match was basically built from a turning of the guard, if you will, with like old bleach blonde Sting and the old kind of era of WCW when it was taken over by the NWO and Hogan's massive crazy heel turn. And then Sting was kind of, the fans turned on him as the older kind of version and disappeared and became the darker, fucking epic version of Sting that we get in this match. No, but it was basically, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was a 2-year build. Not to this match, but to get here to this point.
It was
from
96, wasn't the batch of the
about a year and a half.
Yeah, because didn't it start with Hogan was like the face, and then he turned, and then the NWO started up, and then I think it was the year before this. I think I mentioned it in commentary. Sting hadn't entered the ring in a year. He had disappeared, but he'd been around, showing up in the rafters and doing shit with crows and shit, But so the build was basically the NWO was running riot and running wild in the WCW, taking it over, and Sting was the hero, if you will, or the anti-hero that came back out of the shadows to reclaim the title and the good name of WCW.
Rich?
In a nutshell.
I mean, like, I'm just going to fucking hit the ball right out of the park right now. This match was shit. Hey, I picked it, but there's many reasons why I picked this match. I think that we're all going to probably agree on things in that. But, like, the build-up to this was phenomenal. Sting didn't speak for over a year in any promo. Yeah. He said nothing, but yet the character still fucking built up for this. Like, you knew that this dude meant business. Like, I'm an old school I'm a hardcore Sting fan, hence why I picked this match. My first wrestling figures was a 2-pack with Sting and Lex Luger. When Sting was stuck like that, and Luger was like that kind of thing.
Those as well, Gloobs.
Yeah, man. The bleach blonde hair and then
Yeah.
the blue tights. Man, like I love Sting kind of thing. And like I never changed. Like I always was very, very loyal to Sting, and I always despised NWO just because Sting wasn't in it, and I was just like, nah, man, like Sting's the fucking boy. But like to see like what he was doing with that character, just like hanging up in the rafters, and like some of those like those dives down on the bungee cord, or like how it was coming down, like and his heart like taking on the NWO with his baseball bat and stuff. But once again, not saying a word. Phenomenal. And then you get Hogan, who just can't keep his mouth fucking shut in the ring, outside the ring, and in his personal life. Can we just add to that?
Oh, yeah.
So like this was a match because Hogan had a name. You know, he had that name from WWE, and then he brought it over, and he was still kind of popping, slightly going downhill, and hence why he turned to the NWO kind of thing. And then you think to yourself, like, everyone is getting a little bit tired of NWO, and Sting is WCW, like Taker is WWE. So if you're going to have someone strip them of the belt, or at least go for it, it has to be Sting. But also, Sting was probably the only wrestler who wasn't in NWO who hadn't been beaten the fuck out of or converted into NWO kind of thing.
Well,
so like this match, the build, it was phenomenal, but to what you got in this match was dog shit.
Yeah.
Like I think. Oh, go on, Brian.
Yeah, just looking at my thoughts on the match quickly before we really dive into it. I agree with you, Rich. I thought the match was a steaming pile of WCW dog shit, if I'm honest. But the build-up, as you said, like, you don't get that kind of long-term booking anymore. And, like, I said it to you before we started recording, I absolutely fucking despise Hulk Hogan almost as much as Bill Goldberg. But I loved the NWO, but I loved it in its infancy. When it was let me finish. When it was in its infancy with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and
the Outsiders.
The Outsiders, yeah, they weren't even called that at the time. But I loved the idea of they could have been the insider guys for WWF at the time or whatever. And then Hogan went and shit and ruined it for me. So I absolutely fucking hated him. And like you said, I was a massive WWF fan, but that's because I never really watched much WCW because it wasn't on where I had channels anyway. So I always I liked Sting from afar. I was like, oh, he looks cool, but I've never seen him do his stuff until I started watching back on the network when I got it first. And yeah, I was delighted he was the one to finally shut Hogan up. And there's obviously someone else who I was delighted to appear in that match as well to help get his just desserts on Hogan as well for the WWF days. So go on, Tubbs, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say I agree with Rich. I was a very big Sting fan myself. I mean, I liked Sting when he was, had the bleach blonde hair and the face paint. As we've talked about before, I like, my character's Ace, who wore a mask, black and white. It was a no-brainer. I loved that whole, disguise thing that wrestlers had. But there was something special about when Sting became the dark Sting, like the Crow version of Sting. And look, let's be honest, he ripped it off of a fucking movie. But he made it his own, and it was fucking fantastic. Like those vignettes of him standing on the rooftops with the rain and everything, man, they were fucking legendary. And I think it goes back to what Rich was saying, is when you said, oh man, this match was shit, and I picked it. I think it's the same thing about when I picked the Eddie Guerrero versus Brock match. I had certain moments of that match that I remembered as legendary. And then when I went back and watched it, it was like, oh my God, this fucking wasn't good at all. I think it was the same thing with this. You remember sections of it. But when it comes down to the match itself, I have to agree with you boys. This, oh man, God. Hogan matches, man, they're fucking hard to watch. I forgot how bad he is, man.
Don't you think of Hogan watching this one, right? He either undersells or oversells.
Yeah.
Like you when Sting was in the corner, and he chops him or punches him, And then Hogan just turns and goes, oh, and he basically like falls back to the other turnbuckles, like calm the fuck down.
Like, it's
It was
one
like,
of those things, Rich.
It was like as well with the drop kicks, and Hogan absolutely fucks himself over the top ropes and nearly kills himself.
I
It's
always
like,
find
oh.
with Hogan, you can count, I think you can count, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you can count on one hand the amount of wrestlers Hogan has like put over, like clean. You know, like literally like put over. I think he did it for Yokozuna, maybe Warrior at WrestleMania 6. But even this one, put him over, but it wasn't fucking clean. And it annoyed me to fucking no end, you know? And we'll get to it later, but there was so many moments in this match where I was scratching my head. I was going, what the fuck is this? Is it like, I thought this was, you know, a straight up match. I was like, what's going on here? I really forgot, and I couldn't understand. I was like, did I miss something in the opening? Did they mention something? Like the entrances to this match, like even Hulk Hogan's fucking, you know, chaotic fucking, you know, playing the guitar on the fucking belt, pure bitchy fucking heel. But one credit I will give this match is it was a match. You knew who was the heel, you knew who was the face. So that was one good thing. I was kind of going, all right, well, they're playing this on. But the only thing about Hogan is, I think this is what people forgot about NWA Hogan, or NWO Hogan, is that when Hogan turned heel, everyone used to say, oh man, he is rocking the heel gimmick. You know, he used to be like the red and blue and he was such a good guy. Now he's rocking this heel gimmick. But then you go years later, we all get older, and you realize, oh no, Hogan's just a piece of shit. Do you know? That's why he wasn't even in the gimmick. He was just playing himself then, you know? But it's one of those things with the NWO as well, man, where I feel with that group, as Brian said, in its infancy, I did like it. I was like, this is fresh and this is new, this is cool. The outsiders came from WWF and they came over and they started this new group and took Hogan in, and there were 3 big, massive names. But then as time went on, by the time it hit this match, I think, and even further, it jumped the shark. Like massively jumped the shark. It got to the point where like the NWO had like maybe 50 fucking members. You know, it was ridiculous. Like and I think that was WCW's downfall. They started to do these stupid things. And then after this match, correct me if I'm wrong, they went off and they split the NWO up into NWO Red and
Wolfpack as well.
Yeah, it was just, it became groups everywhere. And it just, you know, it was that jump the shark moment. And the NWO, to its credit, was one of the biggest factions, even though Rich wouldn't agree, but one of the biggest factions in wrestling history. No, but it was to its own detriment. It was, but it caused WCW's failure in the long run. You know,
I think this is another discussion for another podcast. Like, but the reason, the reason for WCW's failure was they had one good idea, and all they did was keep fucking heading to it and fucking.
But that's what I mean, is they just kept tacking things on and taking things off, tacking things on.
So, guys, what was there is loads. So, what was your worst moment of the match? Very short match as well, I thought. 19 minutes like with entrances and build. Something like that, yeah. It's very short indeed.
25 minutes in total with all of the entrances and so on. But my worst moment of the match was everything Hogan did. I mean, I've always said it, and Brian, I've always said it about Hogan is, like, I mean, I've seen matches with Hogan, you know, I mean, Hogan versus The Rock at Mania 18 was fantastic, you know. Hogan is that kind of guy.
Can I say something before you go further?
Yeah, go on.
Watch Hogan versus The Rock with the sound off, and you'll see how good that match is.
Okay, yeah. But this is the thing.
Jericho said that.
But when I turn this match on, like, you look at the matches we've reviewed kind of for the last few weeks, it's Hogan. It's a Hogan match. It's never going to be a technically sound match. It's that pure golden era of wrestling. It's this, and Hogan doesn't have a lot of moves, so Hogan is very limited to a few punches, a leg drop, and a kick, and so on. And as you said a while ago, he either oversells or undersells. So it all depends on the Hogan match you're going to get. But I found with this match, it's kind of one of those things. He's like, oh, I'll sell for Sting. I'll make Sting look good. But I want to take a pin and so on. But we'll have this happen and we'll have this happen. But you know, but I want it my way, and that's what it felt like. It was like, I'll do it. I'll put him over, but I have to have it my way. And that's what I hate about Hogan matches, man. In general, it's that thing of.
It was that way because, like,
Yeah.
even in the afternoon of that day, Sting didn't know what the finish was going to be yet because they kept chopping and changing. And obviously, Hogan in his contract has creative control over his character, and then hence why he was like Sting wasn't happy. Then Hogan couldn't understand why Sting wasn't happy, and he's like, because none of this makes fucking sense. That's why. You know what I mean? And like Sting's a loyal person to the company. Like he did everything he could to keep WCW going with his character alone, and hence why he didn't want to leave, and hence why he truly he did get that final. He was the final match for Nitro because he was that loyal to it. But like the main downfall in this match was Hogan's control and that whole chopping and changing, and that is the big downfall of WCW. At least in WWE, like now back then as well, they had a script, they had a plan of like, this is for the next 3 months. But because you had the fucking Scott Hall, Nash, and Hogan with creative control, they'd be like rocking up and be like, oh, I don't like the way this is going. This is my idea. This is happening. And then obviously because Bischoff didn't have fucking any balls to like be like, look, I know you've got creative control, but no, we'll work this in. We're like, no, we want this now. Like this is where like all these bad matches were happening, and I think this is like this. I'd probably say this is the first major prime example of like the creative control ruining this federation, because this is Starrcade. This is meant to be like kind of like their WrestleMania, like at the end of the year. Starrcade's the pay-per-view. It's at the end of the year where all big beefs are fucking squashed. You know what I mean? And it's like a fresh start come January kind of thing. But like Hogan's kind of like intake on like the kind of endings and stuff and changing was just horrific. Like obviously the referee fucked up, but like obviously like I'm gonna win with a quick count and the referee can't even do that. It's like hence why like the endings didn't make sense because he did a proper count, but he was meant to do a quick count and it made no fucking sense.
Yeah, for me,
That's what I was saying.
For me, like the worst spots are what they're multiple, like, but some of Hogan's overselling and stuff. Like the thing that actually made me laugh was the two guys that came into the ring. Was it Scott Norton and Buff Bagwell? Came in, interfered, and literally got swatted away like flies, as if they weren't even there. And the whole, like you said, the 3 count that shouldn't have been a 3 count, it actually was a 3 count.
It was a 3 count. It was
And,
scripted at fast count. Hence why like Brett was going to get upset and be like, no. It was meant to be like, this was kind of like it was meant to be like a Montreal screw job.
Yeah.
Hence, if you look at the end where Hogan verbally tapped out, he didn't actually tap out. Hence, it was a take piss to the Montreal like screw job kind of scenario. So obviously, because it was like a month later from that. But like going back to what you're saying about, see that when the NWO came in, you try to tell me that Bret Hart came to the ring, so he's restarted this match because it's not fair. It wasn't fair, right? 2 guys jump in the ring while Bret Hart's in the ring, and he just stands there like a fucking idiot.
He just looks at him like,
yeah, he just stood there. Now, boys, you know how big of a Bret Hart fan I am, right?
Same here, yeah.
But he stood there like a fucking idiot. You try to tell me that you're going to restart a ring because you thought that wasn't fair, and then 2 guys jump in the ring to attack Sting, that you're not going to at least grab one of them and throw him out.
I'm going to tell you what I think of it right there, man, is like I thought, like, because I heard a commentary earlier in this match, right, that, all right, Hogan doesn't want, or was it Sting doesn't want to count out because, you know, he can't win the title. So I'm thinking, all right, so this is a regular match. This is, you know, no count out, no DQ. And then Hogan hits him with the bat, lays him out in front of the referee, argues with the referee.
Remember the referee?
What the fuck is going on?
So even though they said on that referee, like, remember it was the whole, like, they're putting all the referees' names in the hats, and it was going to be a lucky draw to see who it was. But then they said that, like, during the match, that this referee has been on favor for NWO for so long. Yeah. So, like, so he was like, on, like, NWO's money kind of thing. But, like, see, watching this, I can't remember the last time I seen a referee get out the ring with the wrestlers. You know, on the ringside, like fair enough. It was like a no holds bar, like extreme match that they've got to follow the wrestlers round about the arena. But the fact that he actually gets out the ring and he's like telling them like to be like come on,
usually inside the ring, counting like.
Yeah, and telling him to get back in the ring.
Yeah.
But he was actually getting out, following him, and I was like,
Yeah, it was strange, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was like, man, I can't remember anyone really doing that.
And there was even another spot. It just goes to show the work rate of the two guys that were in this match, right? And they're outside, and Sting catches Hogan, and he throws him into the barrier. And as Hogan's running, Hogan slows to a stop, man, and barely hits the barrier. And he's like, oh, you could see, it was like, man, you didn't even hit it. You literally came to a stop before you hit the thing. And then Sting comes in and launches himself, man, and Hogan moves, and Sting hits that thing like a ton of bricks. I was going, that's the difference between these two guys, Sting is willing to just, is willing to make it look fucking good and sell it correctly and Hogan is like, oh, but then it's the whole thing, and I'm going to get to it, Rich. I'm going to get to it. I think this part right here is for you and Phil, and mainly Brian, the guys that love Bret Hart. Bret Hart's involvement in this match made me want to claw my fucking eyes out of my fucking head, and it's not because it was Bret. I get it. It's Bret and Hogan fucking hate each other, and in storyline they hate each other, and everything else leading into this. So, and he didn't like what was going on with the count, even though it was a fucking count, and Sting technically lost this match. But he comes out and there's all this fucking shit, and he's dragging Hogan back into the ring. All I could think was, I was like, Sting is working his ass off in this brutal match that's probably politicked to the highest level by Hogan, and you have two of the biggest marks for themselves in that fucking ring right now. It just annoyed me. The whole thing with Bret coming out and like claiming he was the champion and all this kind of made me feel sour, because I was like, he's okay. I mean, fair enough, it was a fast count, even though it wasn't. Sting, in my eyes, after watching that match, he's not the fucking champion. Bret just gave him the belt. So I was going to go, how the fuck is he the champion? Why are all these boys celebrating? He's not the fucking champion. He fucking lost the match. Though he didn't. It made no fucking sense to me, man.
That match is, if you're ever having an argument with someone about why WCW shut down, show them that match and ask them to make 5 cents of it.
No, I agree, because this match should have been, as Rich was saying, Starrcade is their fucking WrestleMania. And imagine being in the crowd in this match, and that's your main event. And this is Hulk Hogan versus Sting. This is a fucking mega match, man. And that's the match you get? Like, it was fucking, Hogan spent the first fucking 7 to 8 minutes of that match talking shit to the crowd.
Yeah.
Walking around going, her, like being a fucking total another fucking, I get it. I love the storytelling aspect of things. He was telling a story. I'm a heel and I don't like the way this is going. Fuck you, Hogan. You're a big fucking dopey fucking brown tanned fucking blonde haired fucking stupid. Oh my God.
Tell us how you really feel, Tubbs.
No. Listen. I've watched Hogan matches before and I've enjoyed them. Like, back in the day, back in the golden age, do you know what I mean? Against, like, Randy Savage and all that kind of stuff, right? But as it goes back to you being, like you were saying, if you're a fan of a wrestler, I was much bigger Sting fan. And even watching this match back, Sting was working in this match. Regardless of what he was given, he was trying his best to make this match solid. Hogan was the weak link in this match. Do you know? He was so fucking, like, it's such basic Hogan factor matches. Come in, you do your entrance, you push a guy back, or you get pushed, you do test his strength, and then you punch and sell and do a kick. It's boring. Like, the crowd and all, if you heard it, were chanting fucking boring. 6 minutes into this match when Hogan had him in the headlock. But I just, man, I mean, the way I would say it to you is, right, if you showed this match to a fan that had never seen WCW and didn't know the story leading into it, when Hogan hit him with the thing in front of the ref, they'd be like, well, how come he's not disqualified? Yeah. And then when Hogan pinned him down and he won, why is Bret here? How come Sting didn't win that match? There's these little factors. If you showed it to a person that has never seen this match or knew the build or anything going into it, they wouldn't have a clue what the fuck is happening. And at that point in 97, and correct me if I'm wrong, they were beating WWE in the ratings at this point. Sorry, WWF. So they were the highest tiered company in the wrestling industry, and this was not high tier wrestling.
But just going back to your whole referee thing, and I've said this before on multiple times, the referee plays a key part in this matches, and it just showed you that this referee fucked up the story. So if he did what he was meant to do and do a fast count, it would actually make a little bit more sense to why people were upset. Do you know what I mean? And why they were going to do like another kind of like, no, fuck this, we're not having it this way, like, we're continuing the match kind of thing. It just proves how important a referee is, because this referee, it was a ref, apart from Hogan's, like, this is, by the way, this is my fucking, my worst part, apart from Hogan's fucking, like, over or underselling, was the referee not, like, doing his part in the story.
Yeah, because once that fucks up, you have the whole Bret Hart thing then not making sense, and the whole match just falls apart, basically. So
like,
nice.
Hitting Sting with the bat makes sense, because this referee was on the end with, I like to say, on the NWO's money. He always seemed favor for NWO. So for him to turn a blind eye to that makes sense. But it was the fuck up on the final count. That is the main fucking flaw. And by the way, this kind of conversation is the reason why I picked this match.
Yeah, I can see that now.
It wasn't for like, this is a fantastic match. It was generally like, because these are the types of matches you can get proper good discussions out of. And that was the reason I picked this match.
And I agree with it, Rich, because as I say, I think we've said it several times on this show, like that. This is what I think is the cool thing about doing this. It's like we look back at these matches, because I remember in '97, man, I probably marked out to fuck for this match when Sting came back and he finally wrestled as the Crow Sting, because I remember the only action figure at the time from WCW I ever owned was Sting in the black and white. You know, I never like bought into the WCW figures, but Sting was the one I bought, like, and I had like the one with the jacket, and it was fucking, loved it, man. Before that, I was, and Philip O'Connor backed me up on this, before that I was melting Marty Jannetty figures in a kettle. You know? So, you know,
Probably
it was
still
like,
more plastic in his face.
No, but what I mean is, it's like, I was a WWE guy, or WWF guy, but Sting, I love Sting, man. Sting was always just such a fucking cool character. And I felt so bad looking back at this match and just kind of going, Jesus, this should have been his crowning moment as the savior of this storyline. And because, you know, Hogan's such a piece of shit, like, he kind of, and it goes to Bret's credit as well. Bret's, as you said, Bret is a fucking talented dude, but and I think more so goes to show where Bret's demeanor was in WCW. I don't fucking care kind of a thing, you know? Like, if that was early days WWF, Bret would have laid those two guys out when they jumped in the ring. He would have went and sold it.
I think Bret didn't want to be in WCW anyway.
But see, this is my point. And you know, it was just fucking hell, man. Like, in that ring, all right, as you said, Rich, a while ago, you have Bret Hart, you have Hulk Hogan, and you have Sting. Three of the greatest names in wrestling history. You know, to be fair, might not like Hogan, but he's there. He's on top of the fucking mountain because of what he's done for the industry. And this is the match you get, you know? Like, I mean, as I said, I that ending made me want to claw my fucking eyes out. Yeah, I mean, am I being melodramatic here, or was it that bad?
They're not.
It was fucking
terrible. I saw what they were going for with the whole Sting turning to Bret. Is it okay if I put on the sharpshooter kind of thing? Like, this is for you. But yeah,
I mean, it wasn't even that I had a problem with.
Botched the landing it did.
That's what it was, man. It just, like, for me as a wrestling fan and a story, you know, loving the story aspect of it and everything else, when Bret came out and he just, you know, like, fucking was complaining, he tore Hogan, excuse me, he caught Hogan and threw Hogan back in the ring. He should have ushered for another ref to come down, like a non-corporate.
That's what I was waiting for.
Bring another ref in the ring. He'd be the enforcer and he'd wait for the tap or the pin to happen. But no, he just gets in the ring and he goes, oh yeah, you tapped out. And all the good guys come to the ring to celebrate.
But, like, didn't the commentators say, like, oh, Bret Hart's a referee now? And you're
that's
like,
my point. I just felt it made zero fucking sense, because in my eyes, from watching that match, right, if I'm a casual viewer and I just threw that match on, oh, Sting versus Hogan, I heard this was good, and you see Hogan win, knowing none of the backstory, are you coming out of this match going, well, sure, Sting shouldn't be the champion right now? Mm-hmm. Because, as Rich said, if it was the fast count, then you're like, oh, he fucking tried to screw him, now that's why Bret's out here. But no, he did a normal count, so by proxy, Hogan won that fucking match. And Sting is cheering with the belt. For me, Sting did win that fucking match.
Can you imagine,
he just didn't,
right? Can you imagine in this day and age, right? In this day and age, if WWE gives you a WrestleMania main event that happens like that, the fucking outrage and fucking war that would happen on online and Twitter and all that kind of stuff.
And it's happened.
For less, yeah.
For less, it has. Look,
So guys, after all that, can you give us a good spot, a best spot of the match?
Stinger doing the Stinger splashes, how fucking high he got on those, man, were fucking brutal. You see them
he
fucking
nearly went over the rope on the first one.
Yep,
This is the first one he
man.
could.
Fucking beautiful, man. Fucking beautiful.
My favorite spot in the match was when I can't remember the move. I can't remember the move that Hogan did. And I think he do the leg drop, or and Sting just no sold it and got it and just started pounding him in the corner. Do you remember that? It was in the middle section of the match. See, you can't even remember, you know. But outside of spots, I really loved Sting's entrance. Where you had like the voiceover and the visual fucking effect of his face turning into a scorpion and all that, and seeing him walk out with that dead stare. As going back to what Rich said at the start, the fact that he hadn't said anything. You know, like he had been showing up everywhere, said nothing. It was just such a fucking cool character, man. His paint was on fucking point. The look was fucking savage. But it's just I loved. That was my favorite part of the match, was that whole spectacle of Sting coming to the ring. Everything else, eyes clawed out.
For me, I have a couple of spots actually. There's the first Stinger splash, because I'd seen him do it in WWF and it kind of looked not great at TNA because he was older. This is my first time watching him properly in his prime, so to speak, and those Stinger splashes were fucking brilliant. The height he got, he nearly went out over the top rope, the fucking second one, like you said. There was also a little more
basketball, so that helped him out back in the days. He openly admitted that he used to play basketball when he was younger because he was so tall. So that's what allowed him to get those fucking big jumps.
There was also another moment, I think, when they were down. You know, when Hogan crotches him on the railings on the outside, and not them, like, but the kids where Sting lands, they were sitting right in the front row, and just to see the fucking excitement on their faces when Sting nearly lands on their fucking lap was fucking awesome. And the last bit is Bruce Buffer doing the announcements at the start.
Literally just about to say. It
fucking made it feel like a big match feel, and then they served up a platter of fucking shit.
No, but you know what?
Speaking of commentary, though, Sting hasn't spoken for about a year, right? And this, once again, just shows the stupidity on WCW side, right? Hasn't spoken. So, what other language is really well spoken in America, apart from English? Spanish, right?
What's the first thing he says?
Sting speaks in Spanish, right? And they're like, what does Sting say? He's like, I don't know, was that in Spanish or English? And he's like, oh, it's definitely not English. Oh my God, are you fucking idiot?
It was clearly Spanish.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
but that's what I love. Like, it was the little things out of Sting. This is what I mean about this match. It's all right. It was one of those things where, like, you could see it. It was the splashes from Sting. It was like even when Hogan lands him, as Brian said, on the railings, and then, like, you know, like, Hogan throws a punch, but then Sting takes a bounce. Sting, everything Sting did in this match, Sting wasn't the problem in this match.
No,
like, he just wasn't. Sting came out fucking fantastic. Came out, the stare down was brilliant. Hogan pushed him, and then he sent Hogan flying with a punch. You know what I mean? He looked like he was there, like, with a purpose, and he kept that the entire way through the match. Hogan just came off very lazy in this match. Seemed even his leg drops looked fucking lazy. His kicks looked lazy. His punch, like, he spent more time, and even just the part where Sting hit him and he went over the top rope. Like, I genuinely thought he wasn't making it at one point. He kind of hung and bounced on the rope and then fell. I was going, okay, he's got it. At least he's got it, you know. But but to his credit, he did bounce. He did take bumps in his match. Not to say he didn't, and he did turn up.
Unlike Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
But it just make, like, looking back at this, and you've heard all the stories about Hogan's politics and everything else, come back to, like, WrestleMania 9 with the whole Yokozuna Brett scenario, all that kind of crack, right? You know, you hear about all these things, and then, as I said, you get older and you look back at these matches and you're kind of going, oh, he wasn't a good heel. He was just a really shit human being himself with a different costume. That's what I got from it. I was like, oh, that's not Hulk Hogan as Hollywood Hulk Hogan. That's Terry Bollea just being an asshole. on fucking screen, being
So,
himself.
guys, what would your final score for this week's fantastic match be? 1. Tubbs?
I give it a 3 for Sting's entrance and Sting's performance, but everything else is where the marks fly off. Brett I hated everything about the ending to this match, and I just fucking Hogan was terrible in this fucking match.
So for me, I give 1 FU to Hogan and a second one to WCW, so a 2 for me.
So we came out of this with a 6, boys.
Some matches have scored more than all 3 of us combined.
I mean, look.
But you know what? It's as you were saying, Rich. It's good to tear apart a match as well. Every week doesn't have to be a 5-star classic. These are fun to talk about as well.
I think it shows, Brian, that I think instead of talking about my favorite spots and my least favorite spots, I think I ranted for 10 minutes.
Your eyes are still there anyway, so.
Yeah. But I think that's it. I mean, look, the way we got to look at it is, right, when we review matches and we do these week by week, something has to be on top. And sadly, this one's got to be on the bottom, my friend.
Yep. So, guys, for next week, we are going to do Let's Survive Paddy Play's suggestion of Austin versus Triple H, 3 stages of hell, something I would have suggested as well.
Yeah.
So, get in your
That was a good pick.
suggestions for the week after, and we'll see what we can do from there. And if we get no suggestions the week after, you're in trouble because it's my turn. So, guys, thanks very much for joining us again this week. I hope you enjoyed our show. Don't watch the match if you want to. Don't claw your eyes out, as Tubbs would say. And stay cool. And see you later. Check out all my reviews across the page and all the other stuff. See you later, guys. Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.